Okay, welcome back. It's been a while. I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving, Christmas, and a New Year. We have Commissioner Luke Howarth. He's on Zoom with us. Today is January 12th. We are in chambers, council chambers. So I call the meeting to order. And Clerk, if you can do a roll call.
Church. Present. Howarth. King.
Present.
Rourke.
Present.
All present.
Can Commissioner Howarth hear us now? Is there a problem with his? Oh, he can hear, but he can't, the audio. Okay. So at this time, we can go over the minutes approval. Does anybody have any of the commissioners have anything they want to say regarding the minutes of July 28th? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Would you approve the minutes from July 28th, 2022? As written.
I'll second.
A roll call vote.
Church.
Aye.
Howarth. If you want to do a thumbs up. Okay. King.
Here.
Rourke.
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, next on the docket is a request for advisory opinion 2301. We have Mr. Adams. I think he's present. So we invite you, welcome to kind of get us up to speed on your position last time with your position now and what changed or. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Do I need to use this or am I loud enough as it is?
You're good.
Yeah, you go.
Okay.
If you would please use it, otherwise we'll not show up on the
No, that'll be perfect. Okay, I'll use it just for you. All right. Thank you for having me this afternoon. Thank you for your previous advisory opinion that was issued. I think 2021 is when I was it was during COVID, so it was all over Zoom. But anyway, I appreciate that. So I'm a wildfire mitigation specialist. I'm a captain in our wildfire division for the Boise Fire Department. Been on the department over 22 years. I'm a certified wildfire mitigation specialist, so I have special skills and expertise in wildfire mitigation. I work with our City of Boise wildfire mitigation team, which is multiple different departments around the city working on large scale fuel mitigation projects. In the past, we did goat grazing and different things of that sort. We do sagebrush thinning. We have a neighborhood chipper program. We do home assessments for homeowners where we walk around the house and provide, prescriptive measures to the homeowners on how to mitigate risk around their properties, better protect them and make them and their families safer from the threat of wildfire. And so that's what I do. In the past, I also did I did fire investigation. When I was part of the prevention division. I no longer do that. I will go out on wildfires and assist with fire investigation on wildfires, but I am no longer part of that team that rotates every third week and does fire investigation for the city as a whole. So my full efforts are focused on doing wildfire mitigation for the city and trying to protect our community members from the threat of wildfire. In October last year, they shifted my role and position under Tony Piscopo. He's our wildfire division chief, and our fire prevention or fire marshal or our fire prevention division chief, Mike Bisagno. I no longer report directly to Mike. I report directly to Tony Piscopo in our wildfire division. And our wildfire division is pretty thin. It's Tony, myself, and a part-time employee. And then we try to, work with community volunteers and that sort of thing to maintain some of the programs that we're currently doing. As such, being shifted over from prevention division to wildfire and reporting to our division chief, Tony Piscopo, I no longer review wildfire safety plans, which are a requirement for new developments in the city of Boise. When new development is built in a wildland urban interface area, they're required to have a wildfire safety plan that goes over vegetation management, how those folks are actually going to build and construct those homes and harden those homes to withstand the threat of wildfire. And I used to review those plans and provide comments to Chief Bisagno and Chief Gervais prior to that. And while I was acting Deputy Chief Fire Marshal from March to December of 2020, during the height of COVID, I also reviewed those plans myself. And I provided those comments and advice to, our fire marshal in the past, and then the fire marshal decides whether that plan's acceptable or not and reaches back out to the developer to let them know. So I've only provided advice, to our fire marshal in the past. I don't do that anymore. So I've been writing since your advisory opinion prior to this on this particular case. I've been writing wildfire safety plans for developers out in the city of Eagle, in Elmore County, in unincorporated Ada County, outside of the area that we provide service for. And so my question before you today is, since I am no longer providing comments on those plans to our fire marshal, and since I am no longer reporting directly to our fire marshal, my supervisor is Tony Piscopo in our wildfire division. My request is to be able to write those same sort of plans for developers in the city of Boise. And then I want to throw one more caveat in there. As a certified wildfire mitigation specialist, there's not a whole lot of us out there. There's currently 3 people in our entire area right now that are writing wildfire safety plans for new development. So we're pretty thin, and we've got a couple of people right now in the city of Boise that developers can choose from, and frankly, one of them is a fire protection engineer and doesn't know a whole lot about wildfire. So, which is not good for our communities when we're trying to protect our communities from the threat of wildfire, making sure that proper plants and vegetation are planted in the first place from the get-go. So 50 years down the road, it doesn't look like Central Foothills Neighborhood Association or Boise Heights or Highlands or Warm Springs Mesa, right? With highly combustible vegetation packed between houses. And then the houses are constructed right from the start. We want to make sure that people that are writing those sort of plans are doing those right for the best interest of the community and the protection of the community from wildfire. A lot of folks don't think that we have a huge threat of wildfire in this community, but you can only look back a year on a Marshall fire in Boulder County and see that in a shrub steppe environment where they've got grasses and shrubs, they lost over 1,100 homes. That was a big issue, right? On flat terrain. And we have, different terrain here. So it just takes the right wind-blown fire at the right time, to lose a lot of structures. And I was born and raised here. I don't want to ever see that happen to our community. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, at this time, I'll open it up to any questions from the commissioners or any comments.
Commissioner Church, I do have a question. You are unique. You mentioned that as well, that there are very few people like you. So I wonder, would it be fair to say that perhaps a fire marshal would call you because you are one of very few people that would understand these things to make comment on something that you had written, though not specifically for your previous job, but in an instance in which, because you are so unique, who else would they call to make comment about these?
So I just want to make sure I understand your question correctly. If I wrote a plan in the city of Boise as a private contractor, and the question is, if the fire marshal were to call me, would I comment back to the fire marshal on that?
Or could you foresee that happening? One, and then what would you foresee the response being?
So the way things are currently set up is I'll give an example of one gentleman. I won't say his name because I know this is for the record and such, but writing wildfire safety plans for area, he provides those to the developer. The developer submits those to the city. And so that's there, he's out of that loop. He's a subcontractor for the developer. And he simply submits those to the developer and he talk about revisions to that particular plan, which is the same thing I've done in other jurisdictions in our area. And then it's upon them to submit that to the city. It's a complete plan at that point. And there's, I would tell the developer to work with the fire marshal on that, you know, and the fire marshal, our fire marshal knows this stuff enough after being around for as long as he has. And from, you know, with me assisting his understanding of wildfire preparedness, he's got a good grasp on this stuff. I don't think that there's any need for him to contact me personally or this other gentleman. And if they did, I would refer him to the developer. It's on the developer at that point.
Good afternoon. Thanks for your conscientiousness in bringing this back to the Ethics Commission. I think that's really laudable, and thanks for your good work too. You've described a bit about how your job responsibilities have changed here within the city. Wondering a little bit about the nature and scope of your work, you know, in your private capacity. So, does it continue to be the case that all of your work is done after hours, weekend, outside the sort of regular business hours of the city? So that's one. Two, is it still the case that you don't make use of city facilities and resources in the execution of that work? And then three, does it remain the case that you try to keep that firewall up in terms of communications? Obviously, there's been a little bit of bleed over isn't the right term, right? But you do have that unique skill set and knowledge base. But to the same extent that it was true, do you continue to maintain your private practice sort of as its own entity and try to avoid the kinds of crossover effect with your role in the city in terms of job opportunities and those kinds of things?
Great question. And commissioners, I do separate that out completely. In fact, at home, I have two desks completely set up in my office, one with two big monitors, which is what I use for consulting. And then I have the one that off to the side, a completely different desk and workstation with different keyboard and mouse that the city provided me when I was working from home remotely, and which I still do. I still work from home remotely from time to time when it's necessary to do so. And so I completely maintain two different complete workstations. I separate my City of Boise work from any consulting work that I do. I take vacation leave to go out and teach different classes around the country for the National Fire Protection Association and my own classes, as well as working for these developers. First thing I tell developers right off the bat is, listen, I work full-time for the Boise Fire Department, and I'm available on Fridays. I'm available on weekends. I'm available in the evenings, and I work in the evenings late typically. So I do maintain that separation, and I take that very seriously. So thank you for the question.
Thanks.
So I guess I'll ask you the same question I asked you in 2021. Nobody knows your job better than you do. Do you foresee what do you foresee that could be a conflict of interest in your position then and your position now? What are some things that you think could potentially make your job conflicting with the city and its contractor?
If they shifted my position back into the prevention division, which I don't see them ever doing, and if that was the case, then I would have to pull back from doing those sorts of things again for developers in the city of Boise. That's the only thing that I can think of that would end up being a potential issue. But because wildfire is such a prevalent sort of destructive force in our society, and it's all over the news every year, they had dedicated my position 2011 to doing wildfire mitigation. I don't see that ever going away. And I only have 3.5 years left till retirement, till they kick me out the door. So
One other thing, Mr. McAdams, when you go on these seminars, when you're traveling, we say when you use your vacation time, you don't use the city of Boise or in a capacity for this, you don't wear any uniforms or any, portray yourself as, because that could potentially, show some influence to somebody.
that's a great question. And no, I do not. When I teach for National Fire Protection Association, they want me to wear their logo. So I have shirts that have the NFPA logo on it. I have my own shirts that have the MC Fire LLC logo on it that I use when I teach my own classes or when I'm meeting a developer or, doing some sort of consulting job for someone. So no, I separate those completely. In fact, I was just talking to Chief Gervais before I came down here about a conference that UC Davis is hosting in February. I'm taking vacation leave to go learn more about wildfire resilient structures at this particular conference, which helps me in my consulting business, but it also helps me in my business that I do with wildfire mitigation in the city of Boise. So I feel like that everybody should take on that sort of lifelong learner concept, that there's never enough information that we can cram into our toolboxes. And I want to do my job with excellence, both with, for the Boise Fire Department and for developers that I work with and the students that I teach. And so with that thought in mind, I separate everything. I'm going down there. I paid for it, for the trip and for the conference. I'm taking vacation leave. I paid for all that with my business, consulting money from last year. And it's a totally separate thing, but it has the ancillary benefits of helping me out in my job and relating to developers and, or homeowners rather, when I'm working in the city of Boise.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I do want to reiterate, thank you for your work. It is really important. So would it be fair to say that if we wrote an opinion that revised the previous opinion, that you would be comfortable with the idea that if your job were to change and you were to be in charge of Boise again, that you would relinquish making contracts within the city limits as the previous advisory opinion wrote? And then also, I don't have the advisory opinion in front of me. Was it stated in the initial one that you would not wear any city logos or, city affiliation at these, conferences and other things, if that were to be added to this current advisory opinion as well?
That would be fine if it was added to the current advisory opinion. I don't believe it was in the old one. So, yep.
Thanks.
Luke, Commissioner Haworth, have you fixed your audio? Did you have anything?
Can you hear me at all? Okay. I just apologize. My audio gets a little wonky on the computer, so I tried to be on my phone earlier. I just went having the advantage of being sitting here looking at my computer and was looking at MC Fire LLC's website. If in the event, Jerry, that there's a requirement that you scrub any reference to the city of Boise from kind of your biography and your about you section on this site to the extent that that causes some sort of conflict. Is that, I guess, in your mind, does that devalue your advertising or how you hold yourself out to the public, or would you have no concern removing that from the site?
I don't have any concern removing that from the site, but I also don't think just stating your biography is a detriment or an addition, or what's the opposite of detriment? I don't think it puts me out there as working for the city of Boise. I'm just stating a fact that I've been a firefighter for the city of Boise for over 22 years. This is my experience level. And when I'm giving my bio at a conference that I'm teaching, either, I'm doing a presentation for the city of Boise or elsewise, I give my biography. I went to graduate school at Willamette. I went to Boise State University, did my undergrad in psychology. I give the whole spiel, right? Including my time with the Boise Fire Department. I don't think that's a conflict of interest in and of itself. But if you all do think it is a conflict of interest, I'm happy to take it off my website.
Okay, yeah, and I don't think we're to the point of making that detailed of a determination, but that was really the only overlap that I could find between your private consulting business and your position with the city of Boise. There's mechanisms in place in other professions to address those things and work to separate them without you having to have a 15-year gap in your resume when you're presenting yourself as a candidate for one of these opportunities. So just wanted to chat through it really quick. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I guess if there isn't anything else, there's no need for us to go into executive session. I think we all give approval or the blessings for him to serve in those capacities.
Mr. Chairman, I'm comfortable with the conversation today, and I think that the staff could draft an advisory opinion based on it, and be happy to look at that. But I'm quite satisfied with the answers I've heard today, speaking for myself.
I would second that.
So you as well, Commissioner Haworth?
Yeah, I guess if we need a formal motion to request city staff to draft an advisory opinion on this issue, that I would make that motion now.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Motion is carried. Roll call vote.
Church.
Aye.
Howarth.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Rourke. All in favor, motion carries.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
No problem. You have a good one.
Thank you.
Are we just approving the annual report?
Is there anything?
you want to have a discussion about it. Like today, but I don't think it needs to be on the record. But,
I'm just looking at the item on the agenda, annual report 2023, and I now can't remember whether the dating of these reports is the date of issue or if it is the calendar year that we are reporting on. So is this in fact annual report 2023 or 2022?
Traditionally done it for
Okay.
the year that it's summarized. So in the code, it references that the report should be filed in February, summarized.
Mhm.
So last year, it was in 2020.
So I think that, for my own part, having just reviewed the annual report, not with a fine tooth comb, but a skim, more than a skim, looks great to me. I'm grateful for the work that's gone into it. I think that we might need to either revise the agenda or at least in our motion to approve, make sure that we're approving the right report by name, if it is in fact the annual report for 2022. Other than that, I'm grateful and happy. Thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve annual report 2022.
Second motion.
Roll call vote?
Church.
Aye.
Howarth.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Rourke.
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries.
Thank you, clerk. Next on the docket, I guess, expiring terms of the commission. So we got the chair and the vice chair up for vote in March. I just want to put that out as a FYI. I guess next is the review of the Ethics Commission email activity.
We also have the open position and then mine expiring in February.
Yeah, I think factors in those.
Oh, okay.
I think we denied you both, but chair the chair.
Yes, I don't know how much detail I need to provide or really what needs to be said on that, other than the fact that the two positions that are up, they're ending in February of this year would be Chair King and then Commissioner Church. And then there is a vacant position as well. And just background on the various positions, the chair, Mr. King, is the employee from the city of Boise that's on the commission, and that is one of the positions that's up for election in February. And then there are two positions appointed by the council, the city council, and one of those is currently vacant. And then there are two positions from the mayor's office. And one of those positions is the one that will be up for election as well in February. So I believe it's 3 total seats, if that's, isn't that right? 3 total seats in February. Anything else on that issue?
The question is, are you both interested in staying or?
Mm-hmm.
I am interested, and I would ask that you take that to the mayor's office, please.
Okay.
I do wonder, is filling these other seats, what are we doing to, because we've been short, what, 1 at least
Mm-hmm.
for a while? What are we doing to recruit or getting people who might be interested?
That's a good question. I'm not sure what efforts are being made to recruit specifically. The elections will be in March. And the process would be that between now and March, that vacant position is one of the council nominations. So city council would need to put forth a nominee, and then mayor's office as well. And then the city itself via HR. And so I don't know about, to answer your question specifically, the recruitment effort or seeking input of who might be interested and who might be good candidates for the role.
Thank you, Mr. Sebastian.
I know that Commissioner Rourke has been here since the beginning of time, I think, but is there any sort of limitation on the amount of time someone can serve on the commission? Regardless of, and maybe it differs by their appointment. But I guess my concern would be if for some reason Commissioner Church and Commissioner King both can't continue and we don't fill one of those other, so one of the 3 seats, we'd have a little bit of an issue with ongoing business.
Yeah, Luke,
As this is Doug Tyler, as far as I know, there's no limit on the number of terms you can serve. It's that you can succeed yourself. But I'll check that again, but I think I checked it last week.
And I don't think I said, but the other two seats, Commissioner Howarth and Commissioner Rourke, are up in 2025. So just to round out all 5 positions and the timelines for each.
mhm. And in the absence of any upper limit on service in city code, I would like to just encourage my colleagues to think about good candidates, because 20 years is a long time. Continuity is good, but having fresh perspective is also good. So I'll put that out there for your consideration.
Well said. Unless there's anything else, any other questions or any other points to be made on that, I'm also prepared to give the email summary.
Ready.
All right. There wasn't a whole lot of activity that specifically implicated the Ethics Commission. The 3 items that I will just briefly summarize. The first, we received a question to the inbox from a city employee who was offered football tickets to a Boise State game by a personal friend. But the question was that the personal friend, I guess, owns a business that occasionally competes for contracts with the city. But so our response to this person was that they should submit a request for an advisory opinion to the commission, and the person opted just not to take the tickets, and the issue became moot. Second, we received a question to the inbox from a member of city council regarding the possibility of serving on the board of a nonprofit operation without any compensation. And that individual was told to please submit a request for advisory opinion to the commission. None has yet been submitted, but that is the status of that email request. And the third, there was a question from another city employee about accepting a contract to perform work on the construction of an ice rink in a different city in the state. Once again, that person was directed to the Code of Ethics and the previous advisory opinions of the commission, and told that they ought to submit a request for advisory opinion. That person did not submit a request, but they also didn't accept the contract. So once again, the issue became moot. They didn't pursue what was underlying the inquiry. And then the only other items that are only tangentially related to the Ethics Commission would be just travel requests that have come in that don't implicate the code. And that is it. Any questions or any further information desired?
Just one, I guess. So when you ask someone to submit an inquiry and they don't, does that go on to the next agenda for, or does that just kind of fall off?
In
How does
these
that-
instances, so a lot of these ones dealt with the timeline. Somebody would need an answer in a week, and given how infrequently the commission meets, it's not always the case that if they have something urgent, they can submit a request, get a response before the date by which they need to make a decision or take some sort of action. And in those cases, if they opt to err on the side of caution and just do away with the idea rather than proceed, it just kind of fizzles out because the issue goes away on its own.
Thank you. The only reason I ask, because if somebody decide not to submit an inquiry and decide to take a job that could compromise anything, does that just go away, or do we follow up, or is that just?
Good question. If we or anyone in the city, whether they be an employee or a citizen, is aware of any kind of activity that may implicate the ethics code or may be unethical conduct, anyone is free to submit an inquiry to the commission to review that activity. after the fact, and the requests for advisory opinions are forward-looking, basically in advance, determining whether it would be acceptable under the code of ethics before taking the action. But to answer your question, if they take the action and it may implicate the code and somebody has a concern, they can submit an inquiry to the commission after the fact.
Makes sense. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you
Any
all.
other commissioners have any?
Nope.
Okay, so I guess that was part of the hotline activity as well, or is that something?
Good point. There was no hotline activity to speak of. So it's a very brief summary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sebastian. So is there any other items before the commission, or commissioners have anything they would like to mention or that we forgot to mention? If not, I'll accept the motion for us to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Second the motion.
Motion carried. Clerk, please.
Church,
Aye.
Howarth.
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Rourke,
Aye.
all in favor, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Our next meeting is March.
March.
Okay, March it is. See you guys then. Thank you.